You see, I'm just a human, so that's why I genuinely feel sorry for him. But is this just justice for Osinachi? Do we want to see it that way? But then again, like I said, children who may now end up being orphans are involved. Court sentences late gospel singer Osinachi's husband, Peter Nwachukwu, to death. You see, guys, Nigerian problem is tired person. I honestly don't know how to feel about the story. I just don't know how to feel, and this is largely because 4 innocent children are involved. You see, the human in me really feels sorry that another human is about to, be hanged. Like, I genuinely feel sorry for this man. But then again, when you remember how this man's action or inaction whatsoever led to the death of his wife, I mean, the story that we heard led to the death of his wife. That's renowned singer Osinachi Nwachukwu. Then you almost want to say, okay, good riddance to bad rubbish. You see, I'm just a human, so that's why I genuinely feel sorry for him. But is this just justice for Osinachi? Do we want to see it that way? But then again, like I said, children who may now end up being orphans are involved. Now, for those who do not remember the story, this is Mr. Peter Nwachukwu, husband of late renowned gospel singer Osinachi Nwachukwu. That's the woman who sang, Ekueme, Ekueme, you are the living God, there is none like you. So I'm sure a lot of us remember back in 2022 when the story of her death flooded the internet, and then a lot of people accused her husband of being very mean and unkind to her. And at that time, she was battling a terminal sickness. So the story out there was that at that time, there was an alleged domestic violence that she suffered in the hand of her husband, which eventually led to her death. Yeah, so I remember then, even she and her husband, they were members of Pastor Enenche's church, that's Dunamis in Abuja. And Pastor Enenche too was called out. Nigerians actually gave the man woto because the woman's death was just really so painful to a lot of people. So people accused the pastor of Dunamis church of, not paying attention to the pain or whatever it is that the song minister in his church was going through. And people also, started alleging that the man's preaching somehow, encouraged people who are going through domestic violence to, stay put in their marriage. Of course, because they are Christians, so they shouldn't be seen, leaving their marriage or being divorced from their marriage. So there was a lot of accusations on that and that on the pastor. And, eventually the pastor had to come out to say what he knew about the whole, incident. And just to clear up the misinformation that was out there. Now let's straight all the way back to that video that Pastor Enenche did.
We are in a season that calls for sober reflection in the light of the passing of our beloved sister Osinachi Nwachukwu, who is a kingdom asset and a generational asset to this generation. In the light of so much misinformation, in the light of so much misconstruction of events, I decided to set straight what I know concerning the situation. Over 2.5 months to 3 months ago, She came to see me with her husband with complaints of chest pain, respiratory distress. I prayed for her and prayed again. And when the symptoms did not abate, I counseled that they go to the hospital to help us to know exactly what we were dealing with. And they asked if I could assist, help them facilitate that process. I called our head of medical team, Dr. Sang, who is consultant pediatrician with the Federal Medical Center, Kefi, to assist handle their situation. And he called the Federal Medical Center, Jabi, called colleagues there where they attended to them. On seeing her, they ordered some investigations after examination, and that included CT scan, computerized axial tomography scan. That was done, and from what the doctors saw, they felt that there was need for further investigation, either at the University of Abuja Teaching Hospital or the National Hospital in Abuja. I called the doctor, consultant pulmonologist, respiratory physician at the University of Abuja Teaching Hospital, Dr. Ako Alexander, told him the situation, and he asked that they come to see him immediately. And they went to the Gwagwalada Teaching Hospital. After they had examined her there and saw the situation, they felt that there was a need for histology and biopsy of the lung tissue, and they asked that she go to the National Hospital to get that done. I again called the Dr. Jibrin, who is head of pathology and consultant histopathologist of the National Hospital in Abuja, and reported the issue to him and to help us go ahead with the investigations and find out what exactly happened. I am calling names and calling places because the people are available, are alive, and they're all verifiable. And then they continued the management. The histology was done. From what I saw at that time, the picture was much milder than what the CT scan earlier on showed. And so we felt very happy that at least there was relief. She called me daily, and we literally daily, and prayed with her. She reported progress. The point came where she needed no oxygen anymore, according to what she said to me one night, and that they checked her oxygen perfusion, and it was 100%. And we were very, very excited at that progress. That was the point it was before we went over to the crusade in Cameroon. It was in Cameroon the second night that I got to know of the unfortunate incidents of her passing. Now, if there was domestic violence that led to or coincided with those symptoms that she came with 2.5 months to 3 months ago, there is no way I would know. And if there had been perennial domestic violence, there was no way I would have known. The things we're hearing after her passing were things that were very, very strange to my hearing. Then I began to ask questions. First, I asked the twin sister, are you aware that your sister, were you aware that your sister passed through all these things? She said yes, she knew some of them, but that the majority of them she was hearing also from those she confided in. I asked her, I said, if you knew, why didn't you let us know? And the twin sister said, she always begged her, please don't let the church know, don't tell the pastor, please, the man will change, please, just pray for us, the man will change. And that continued to happen. I asked the first son yesterday, I said, was this real? And the son told other stories. And I said, so why didn't you tell me? Because typically they will run to me after service and I'll pray for them, lay hands on them. Why didn't you tell me about what was going on in the home? And the young man said, they couldn't tell me because the father would always ask them after they left me and said, what did you tell the pastor? Did you tell him anything? And so on and so forth. Other members in the choir who were privy to these some of the things that were going on. I asked one of them when we paid the visit to the house of the deceased yesterday, what happened? Why were we not aware of all these things? The same story, that she would always go on her knees and ask them, please, don't, just pray, don't. But trusting God for him to change. The last one that taught me so much was the music producer who came to see me in the office 2 days ago to tell me his own experience, how he witnessed that the man slapped the wife in his music studio. And I said to him, you saw a man slap a woman in your presence and you left the man alone and you are a man yourself. And he said before he could respond to the man, the woman again in tears on her knees begged him not to do anything, to leave him alone, and not even to do anything at all, and so on and so forth. So we have had these stories, and this is all the things that we got to know after she had passed. As a person and as a church, everyone who knows us know that we have 0-degree tolerance for domestic abuse and wife battery of any sort. If you ever listen to any of our relationship messages, there is a principle, a policy, and a rule we have, and that is, it is better to be alive without a marriage than to die because of marriage. We've said that over and over and over. I am sure that some of us would have listened to the clips of those messages.
Listening to this video once again just brought back that sad emotions that a lot of people, felt about 3 years ago. Yes, 3 years ago. You see, when you hear this again, you're just again reminded why this man, like somehow one should just not feel sorry, for him. And I know that people genuinely are feeling sorry, not for him, but for the children. Like I said earlier, the children. Listening to what Pastor said, you can imagine that after he heard, he started asking questions. And it's like, was a pointer to the fact that this man wasn't really nice to this woman. So we can all sit down here and want to get emotional about it, and rightly so, because children are involved. Are they not going to become orphans? Is this a case of wanting to ask if two wrongs can make a right? I don't know. Because you see, once children are already involved, the whole drama takes another dimension. In this kind of drama, trust me, children are always at the receiving end. It just never looks right or feels right for us to just look away when children are involved. Anyway, when the thing happened that time, a lot of people, because of the evidence, the witnesses and everything, people talked and talked and talked, some people took the case to court. Like, people were really convinced that that man had a hand in his wife's death, even if the wife was battling a terminal sickness. Whatever he did to the wife more or less complicated the whole matter, and that led to, her death. But anyway, they took it to court, and that's since 2022. Witnesses started talking, and a lot of evidences were brought out, and now the verdicts are out. The High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, Wuse Zone 2, Abuja, has sentenced Peter Nwachukwu, husband of late gospel singer Osinachi Nwachukwu, to death by hanging. Justice Osih-Oyelude delivered a judgment finding him guilty of culpable homicide in connection with Osinachi's death on April 8, 2022. Mr. Nwachukwu was initially arraigned on June 3, 2022 by Office of the Attorney General of the Federation on a 23-count charge, including culpable homicide, spousal battery, cruelty to children, and criminal intimidation. During the trial, the prosecution presented 17 witnesses, including 2 of the couple's children, and submitted 25 documents as exhibits. The defense called 5 witnesses, including Nwachukwu himself, and tendered 4 exhibits. While the defense counsel, Reginald Wiley, pleaded for leniency, the prosecution urged the court to impose the full weight of the law. Justice Osih-Oyelude sentenced Nwachukwu to death by hanging on count 1. He also received additional sentences, 2 years imprisonment each on count 2, 3, 8, 9, 12, 13, and 18, 6 months on count 10, 3 years on count 11, and fines of 500,000 and 200,000 on counts 6 and 7, respectively. Now wow. Now for those saying the court acted under, social media pressure and all of that, like, are you joking? Does the court look like people who are emotional to you when it comes to issues like this? If for nothing, you see, the court, when it comes to children, the court is usually very, very lenient. But if looking at those children, the court still could not give this man just a normal sentence, that means the court is faced with an overwhelming evidence that to them they will not be doing justice to the woman's memory if they don't give that man that sentence. It's like the kind of evidence that they have, and still looking at those 4 children who may eventually become orphans and still went ahead to give that sentence, you should just know that the kind of evidence that they have, they can't even allow the man to live freely with those children. You remember somewhere there, they're also charging him for cruelty to the children. That's wickedness to his children. So let us not feel like the court just went to social media and took accusations. No. Remember, this case has been running for 3 years. So they would have done a lot of their findings, even interviewing the children. You think everybody will come and want to cook up lies against the man? If for nothing, those children need that man. If they still want to come out and say that, you also listen to what the pastor said. Even before the case started gathering all this momentum, the pastor already asked the children, and they said almost same thing. You think the pastor want to come and lie? Or you think the children were programmed, everybody programmed against the man? What about the pastor, the music leader or so, that the pastor said that Osinachi's husband slapped Osinachi in his presence? Like, how many are we going to talk about? It's sad that the children will have to bear the brunt of all this whole mess. But the law is the law. The law is the law. Yeah, your points are valid, your concerns are valid. They will now be orphans. It's really sad. It's really sad because I don't know whether they'll be better off not with their father or with their father. I don't know. But one thing is sure, that woman truly deserves justice. They deserve justice, because I don't know how those children will continue to live with their father, knowing what their father did to their mother. The court would have seen all these things, because court, when it comes to children, the court is really very, very careful. If they're ready to risk it to say, we're going to let this man go, these children will be better off without him, then that means the kind of evidence is really bad. Now, this is what this Abuja-based lawyer, Stan Alieke, thinks. He said, "Inasmuch as I am a strong advocate for guilty not to go unpunished, this singer Osinachi's case should be a reason why death sentence should be abolished. For the sake of their kids, they already lost their mother. It will be brutal for the kids for their dad to be killed too." I know some of you will argue that the kids are better off as orphans than to have a killer dad. But I believe that the kids will beg to differ. The man should be sentenced to life imprisonment so that the kids could visit him in jail whenever they miss him. He's still their father. Let him not die too. You see, we're just humans at the end of the day. I'm almost tempted to agree with this lawyer. But like I said, when you think about the person whose life was taken because of this man, you almost want to say, like it's just so confusing. Honestly, this is really sad. I just hope that the church, if the man eventually, if they can't plead his case or whatever, I just pray that the church should step in and take care of these kids. The woman served the church, the woman served God. They were one of those who were not charging billions and millions of naira to perform everywhere. They served the church diligently, I want to believe. So hopefully the children will be well taken care of by, Dunamis Church. You can imagine for these kids, this is one story when they grow up, they will have to live with for the rest of their lives. It's really sad. Hopefully they are from a family that can help them, morally and give them that support they truly need. And I just pray for healing for them because this must really be too hard for them to bear. Losing their mother and about to lose their father in this kind of circumstance. It's just really sad. But that woman, if this man did all these things to him, that woman truly deserves justice. But on the other hand, the kids still need at least one parent. Sadly. But I said that is just a wish. If for whatever reason, even if the man is given life imprisonment, he's still not there for the kids, so it's almost the same thing. But hopefully, like I said, the church and their larger family will step in and fill in the gap in a way that these children will really not miss anything, in life. Anyway, that's it. Tell me what you think. What do you think about what the lawyer wrote? Do you agree with him? Or do you think the man should be punished for what he did? Because now we're not going to say he allegedly did, because the court, they've done their findings and it's looking like he did all those things he was accused of. So tell me what you think and let's continue the conversation in the comment section. I'll see you again in my next video. Bye for now.